I think we're just about ready to go, aren't we? I think the umpires called them. Coxes have raised their arms, which suggests they're not too far away from the off here, Mark.
Cox has got their hands up, just making sure that they get their boat straight. Once it's straight, you'll see their hands come down.
A little delay in the Durham University boat. Once the arm goes down, we should have race on. The Temple Challenge Cup, Princeton University A on the Berkshire station, and we've got Durham University B on the Buck station to the right of your picture. And as always, we're really scrutinising the starts that these boats put in. So difficult off Temple Island. They've got the advantage of a Cox here. Big moment for Casper Gray, the Cox and the Durham University B boat. And for Adam Kasler, the Cox and the Princeton University A boat. And they seem to have had the sharper start, the Americans.
Yeah, and you've got, you know, Princeton obviously being a juggernaut of a university, a rowing university. You know, you get lots of athletes from different locations around the world come to study there. And the class they have is, you know, the depth they have there is pretty impressive.
So, from Temple Island, they move down the course. It's all towards Henley Bridge, so, against the stream, so that makes it harder work. And they'll have, presumably in their heads, progress points, mark points, checkpoints, if you like. They want to get to the next enclosure, they want to get to the next tree or next bridge or whatever it is, a little marker that they can see.
And the most important thing when you arrive at the regatta is, you know, accustoming yourself with the different markers and where they are, because normally these athletes, you know, they race on a 2,000 meter course or rivers or whatever it is, and they'll know where 250 is 500, but knowing where the different major markers are on Henley is unique. And being aware of those, because I remember the first time I raced here, I just got lost. I didn't know where I was going.
Yes. And
then I actually sat down and started to understand the course, the markers, the records, all those sort of things.
And before you email in, I'm fully aware that there are no bridges over the Thames between Temple Island and Henley Bridge, but there are little bridges on the tributaries that run into the Thames, and they can be quite graphic markers. Right, we've got the barrier. You see the progress marker on your left-hand side of the picture there. So that's
the first real big main marker.
Yes.
That's where a timing point will be. So they'll be looking at their splits, because this is the one that most crews will go flat out to all the time.
So up goes the number one in red there.
Which you see is the Berkshire station, which is Princeton station. So they're number one, they've gone through first, so that goes up.
And then in a moment, you'll see more activity. Here we go. Up goes the number two, which tells you exactly where Durham University B are.
So it looks like a length and a quarter, I'd say. You know, the difference, the idea is that they try and give you an insight to the space between the crews, because obviously if you're at one end of the course looking up as a spectator, you're trying to work out the difference between the two crews. It's a way for you to reference, but also the athletes be able to see that when they've gone through.
Yeah, it should be a graphic illustration, shouldn't it?
Maybe with innovation, you never know, you never know.
Yeah, I love the old-fashioned nature of it, with all the technology that bounces around big sporting events like this now.
Yeah.
You've still got a man with a rope putting up the numbers.
And I think we have to keep some of these traditions. We can't let them all go. We've got to, you know, we've got to blend innovation and new things with the kind of traditions and history. And then I think you get that beautiful mix if you can do that well.
Yes. Something charming about it.
Yeah.
There'd be an uproar if they suddenly put a digital screen there instead.
I think it would take it, yeah. But everybody's different the way they look at these things, but I think, you know, keeping some of the history is really important to the event, and that's what makes it so unique.
Right, let's have a look at this Princeton University boat, shall we? This is the Berkshire station, and if we go first towards the bow seat, see there Timothy Schritzel, they look like they've dropped the rate down. We'd understand why.
Yeah,
let's look at that lead. That's worn the length now, a bit of clear water.
You could just see the way they move as a unit. It's really slick. It's in sync, which is really important.
There's Sam Irving and the Durham boat on the bow seat. You can see the Cox there, Casper Gray. And he'll be communicating now, Casper, won't he, trying to let his, cajole his crew back into the race.
Yeah, that's the aim of the Cox, really, is to make sure your crew stays fixed on what they're doing. You become their eyes, keep them in contact with what's going on or up to date with what's going on, trying to keep them motivated because you know, unfortunately, we were talking about steering earlier. You can win or lose a race as a cox by, you know, what you do with the rudder, but also how you communicate with the crew, what's going on to keep them motivated is so important and one of the biggest roles. But you can see the blade work on the Princeton crew, very tidy. It kind of looks, to me, as an observer looking in, it looks kind of effortless to the crew they're kind of competing against. They're just much more efficient in the ways that they're using their strength, their power, and the way they're moving as a unit.
Yeah, it's always a good little proviso you've put on that, saying from the outside looking at it, it looks effortless. Of course, if you were sitting in the boat,
definitely
you'd be
not
anything but. But
yeah.
it's a bit like our Swan that we saw earlier on, isn't it? It's all hard work hidden away, looking quite graceful. We haven't seen the Swan during the race, which is good news.
And would there be various launches on the course to kind of navigate the Swans off, or, you know?
Well, it might be Durham University's biggest hope now, wouldn't it? The Swan reappearing and interrupting Princeton University's serene progress. Because they look a good outfit at the moment. Adam Castor's got Princeton University exactly where he wants them.
And sometimes this is quite hard for a cox, you know. You can see Adam looking around just to check where Durham are, and he's got to keep his eye on what Durham are doing, but also keeping his crew, you know, on the gas enough so they don't come off and let Durham kind of sneak back up. Because the last thing you want to do is bring it down and then have to kind of jack it back up again.
Yeah, once you drop it off too much, to try and get back up to what you should be doing is hard work, isn't it? So just keeping it constant all the way down. He's done that well, hasn't he, actually, to give him credit. Princeton University have done exactly what you were saying there, and that's why they've got a big lead, and that's why they can drop off the rate, and that's why they'll be going through to the next round of the Temple Challenge Cup. In front of the stewards enclosure, they're getting pretty good reception there. That's quite a raucous reception for so early on day one. Yeah. Lots of Princeton University fans in, congratulating the boat as they go over the finish line there in the Temple Challenge Cup, beating Durham University B pretty comfortably. That would have been the form guide going into it, was reflected there in the result.